rejoice, okay? We're finally getting some things that make people like you and people like me actually truly happy. An Integra, finally! A Nissan Z with a twin-turbo 6-speed, what the is that? That's sick! A new STI? Well, that seems actually like pretty normal information. That's just like a Subaru thing that they do. And an even more track-oriented domestic sports car that can turn. Have you seen what some of these companies are coming out with? It's insane. And let me tell you right now, we straight up do not deserve this. And when the bubble pops and all the companies go back to only selling CUVs, we'll need to go back into our little corner and beg for scraps. But for now, car guys and gals, we're living large. We're living in the future, okay? But one of the first cars to truly start to push this forward, in all honesty, and without being a little bit biased anyway, is the Toyota Supra, okay? Not the Mark IV, but the Mark V. I know, it gets first place in this, but when it was released, people were angry that it didn't have the iconic 2JZ motor power plant thing behind it. I'm Alex @FI on Instagram, and today we're gonna be talking about just why would a company opt to change its iconic, practically bulletproof motor for a BMW goodness in the new Supra, and just why overall the 2JZ is now just a thing of the past. Also, by the way, I get it. I own a silver car and a gray car, and I talk smack about there not being creative colors in the car community. I get it, okay? I understand that I also bought a conservative colored car and painted a car that was spaghetti red, also just gray. They call it Grigio Silverstone, but it's gray. Listen, I get it, okay? That's why we're doing something fun with another build that's coming up relatively shortly. It's gonna be awesome, okay? Just hang with me. And welcome to Fitment Industries. Be sure to check us out over at fitmentindustries.com, where we got wheels, tires, suspension, and more for you because we give a shit. Okay, plus we mount and balance wheels to your door for free, so then you can just slap them on instead of having to go to the old tire shop where they just curb them anyway and judge you for anything that you want to do that's not always spec. Also, just letting you know, we have our own in-house brand called Artisa Art-Formed Wheels. Be sure to check it out as we continue to grow that little freaking fun-ass monster into something cool. And if you're looking to have your questions talked about in the next episode, drop it in the comment section below so I can read them and respond. Of course, thanks for the love in the previous videos, and of course telling me that I am a hypocrite for talking shit about silver and gray cars, even though all of my cars are silver and gray. But let's get back to talking about this 2G jug. This is Toyota towering, JZ loving, GE electric having ass engine, okay? The 2JZ was a Toyota manufactured engine that was set on to replace the M Series engine, which had carried the manufacturer fairly far and wide. That manufacturer being none other than Toyota. Actually, quite longer than you think, okay? The M engine was actually in production from 1965 all the way up until 1993. So you know that when Toyota was setting up for a replacement motor, the stakes and expectations were higher than Max Verstappen and qualifiers, specifically in the 2021 series, where finally Red Bull has a chance. Finally. The 1J, as it would be initially called, would become the legendary power plant that we'd all get to know and love. It's a 2.5 liter, 24 valve, dual overhead cam, and will come in various trims and performance mods. Some as simple as just a naturally aspirated variant with like a 10:1 compression, a 1JZ GTE, which would be featured in quite a few platforms, would ultimately end up getting the old twin turbskis, all right? A little bit more power, a lower compression for additional reliability, but more overall just everything that you would want in a performance sedan or coupe. Now in the basic, most fundamental perspective of this 1J and 2J thing are not the amount of turbos that they have. One's not one turbo versus two, but more focused on the displacement that they carry. 1Js, while incredibly powerful, have 2.5 liters, whereas a 2J have 3 liters of displacement. There's more to it, but in general sense, that's what you need to know. Okay, the 1JZ was and is still known as a more rev-happy engine, whereas the 2JZ is a little bit of a longer stroke with sequential turbos and has more of a foundational power plant range. Now again, generally speaking, but that's why a lot of people have a little bit more fun with the 1Js, while 2Js can be a little bit more, well, robust. The 2JZ was also right behind the 1J and was in production in 1991 and got slapped right into the Toyota Aristo, okay? That would go on to compete with the Godzilla motor that was known as the RB26 and RB respectively. Toyota aimed to ensure that this power plant could feed the performance-oriented enthusiasts of the world and the rest of their platforms. They wanted to make something cool, but could also bring home the bacon. I mean, come on, it's Toyota. This is what they do. Do you think they're gonna be risky when it comes to research and development? They're like the the absolute opposite of Dodge. They just wanted to go up against the RB26 and the RB30, and that's exactly what they planned to do. The 1J and the 2J would be seen in the Mark II, the Crown, the Brevis, the Altezza, the IS300, the GS300, the Crown, the Chaser, the Cresta, the Project, the Origin, the Soarer, the SC300, and of course, the one that we all know and love, the Toyota Supra. But what made it so good? Like, why did people love it so much, and why did Toyota put it in just about everything? It's a really common question that can make you feeling a little bit curious. Okay, well, first off, Toyota just does that, and that's why their vehicles are often declared as being so reliable. They avoid wasting time on various engine marks because they can't focus on the popular platforms or engines that they should. Reliability generally means that you're gonna have more focus just on less things. But not only that, the JZ platform was exceptionally well made. It had the reliability of extra dollars from the early 90s bubble, and it had Toyota's name on it to be a direct competitor with Nissan. Sure, the 4 valves per cylinder were great, and you had the dual cams, which were also great, and you had a distributorless, system, and all that stuff helped it, but the 2JZ came out of the womb as like a balanced breakfast for tuners. It was built with almost everything in mind. The iron block, while a little bit heavier, was bulletproof and laid the groundwork well for the sequential turbos in its stock format and in the hands of enthusiasts. It was a great start to a fantastic engine. It has, second main bearings. It's got forged steel crankshaft. It has a fully closed deck, which essentially does nothing more than keep the power plant essentially in one piece. Closed deck is something that you hear a lot in the 2JZ world. In 30 seconds is nothing more than a reference to how the engine casting is essentially designed. Open deck, right, the opposite, is where the cylinders are left typically unsupported and stand separate from the block itself, which is great for cooling because you don't have metal surrounding it, but it's terrible for long-term or high-power applications. In the middle, you have a semi-closed, which is when the cylinders have some sort of metal support around it, but still it's majority empty. Again, trying to help with cooling. And closed deck is when there's metal support around the entirety of the cylinder wall, practically everywhere, and particularly near the head. Because of the rigidity and strength where the pressure is at its highest, closed decks are often preferred to when you're looking to build insane power plants, specifically with turbos screaming right along next to it. The 2JZ was a closed deck engine platform. It was simple as that. There, now you learned something. And while it was expensive, it was totally worth it for the Supra platform. And it was screaming right alongside almost everything else. It was a serious contender when it came to being one of the most power plant happy, reliable, and community loving power plants. And then Toyota would end it in 2007. I'm trying to breathe and I drank because we're filming this in the evening and my lungs don't know what to do. So why? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué no los dos? Okay? Why would they do that? The 2020 Toyota Supra came into this world and the TikTok enthusiasts were tickled. All right, they were ticked without the L that there wasn't a 30-year-old engine in there called a 2JZ, all right? So why? Why would they do that? Why would a company not bring it back? And this is honestly a real question that so many people honestly ask, and I'm glad you're here. The 2JZ was a rocket ship of a power plant, but it still had its own inherent weaknesses. Please don't be mad at me for ever saying that a 2JZ isn't perfect, okay? I get the internet has this infatuation with them, but they are. I'm just an educationer that sells wheels, tires, suspension. FitmentIndustries.com. The 2JZ did wane on the company through its inability to scale with increasing emission issues, and the tooling to keep making this closed deck destructor was beginning to get called up by Toyota's finance department, specifically as it went through the 90s and into the early 2000s. You have to remember, closed deck is a lot of work. Over time, as the 2JZ was declining in sales volume across the board, ultimately a lot of what they were being replaced with was subcompact cars and compact cars and SUVs and CUVs and really just smaller engine bays and smaller engines. Toyota saw the writing on the wall and decided to axe the idea of redeveloping the tooling for an all-new inline-six engine for a low-volume car segment, which was literally creeping up on its deathbed. Specifically, Toyota was selling in the world, and with the EPA right on their feet, Toyota just really didn't want to deal with it that much. The RB suffered from the same issue, and as the economy began to realize that the Japanese market was stuffing 500s underneath the monopoly board when nobody was looking, they really didn't have the capacity to keep building them anymore. A lot of that bubble started to fade, and with that, companies like Nissan and Toyota and Mitsubishi really started to feel the hurt of that. So why doesn't the new Toyota Supra come with a 2JZ? Well, it may be super easy for you to stab at Toyota for partnering with BMW for the car, which is inherently the first thing that a lot of people do. But it was actually one of the smartest things Toyota could have done for this platform. You have to remember that Toyota doesn't have the skill set really to do a sports car completely that well anymore, particularly in the tuner market. Now, yes, they have smart models, they have the GR86, but the Supra is really the only major nameplate Toyota has had really since like the mid-90s. So when you're looking to reintroduce such a vehicle within your market price that keeps you below the one big daddy boy, the pumpin' Porsche, okay, you have to partner up and take out your friend and sorry. That's just how it goes. And Toyota wasn't gonna be able to do it alone, so they went and they garnered BMW to help them out in producing it. And to those that are doubting the partnership, you really have to look at what people have already been able to do with the new Toyota Supra. I mean, it is pretty astounding. It's an inline-6, balanced, and it comes from the same few key improvements. One, the B58 is a closed deck just like the 2JZ, and while that can come with some weight additions, it's already what's allowed enthusiasts to kick the B58's power up to 700 to 800 horsepower or more already, and the car's not even more than 3 years old. You get air-to-water intercooler, which plagued the N54s and 55s, which is again another nod that BMW and Toyota worked together to minimize the known weak points of this partnership. Toyota badge, reliability, BMW, sports car. It has a heat module to help with the closed deck design. They moved the Vanos, the radiator, the timing chain to the back for weight distribution because they knew it was a front engine, or it was gonna be a front heavy engine design. Mechanics are gonna be really upset about it, but hey, it's more balanced this way. They got rid of the high pressure lines on the N55 so that the fuel delivery system is directly attached to minimize pressure loss. This also helps with more power. At the end of the day, what more could you want? The B58 and its introduction into the Toyota Supra is different than what Toyota has done in the past. But based on the success of the 2JZ, what it did right, and what people love about it is the same reason that I believe people will love or learn to love the B58 that's located in the new Toyota Supra. It is going to be an absolute power plant. But what do you think? Should we just take the 30-year-old motor back and scale it to 1,000 horsepower and 2JZ or nothing? Or do you just go take a B58 and do the same goddamn thing? I mean, honestly, I don't know what else you want. You can either keep Charizard forever, or you can choose to evolve it, okay? In my opinion, you're kind of a dick if you leave it as is. But let us know below, and if you're looking for aftermarket wheels, tires, or suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. I'm gonna have my Cayman Jack, and we will see you later. Peace.